I never imagined that one day I would have to tell this story, because for a long time I did everything I could to believe that my life was on the right path. I had a family, two beautiful children, a husband who worked traveling, and even with the distance, I believed there was love there. I lived for my home. I woke up early, took care of my children, organized everything, cooked, cleaned, solved problems. I was everything in that house. Mother, father, homemaker, emotional support, everything. And even so, I missed him. I missed a conversation, a hug, a simple, "How are you?" But I stayed quiet, because in my mind, he was working for the family. I justified everything, the absence, the silence, even the coldness. But over time, things started to change. He didn't call like before. Sometimes days would go by without any news. When I texted him, he took a long time to reply, or answered in a cold way like he was being forced to. And inside me, that feeling started to grow. Something was wrong. But I tried to ignore it. Until one night, everything began to fall apart. I called him. It was late. I was worried. He didn't answer. I tried several times until he finally picked up. But something was off. He was speaking quietly, distant. And then I heard it. A woman's voice. In that moment, my heart stopped. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down, I already knew. Even then, I tried to lie to myself. Until a few days later, he came home. And this time, it wasn't like before. He didn't come with longing. He didn't come with love. He came with a decision. He told me he had met someone else, that he was confused, that he needed time. But deep down, it was very clear. He had already made his choice, and it wasn't us. I felt like I had been torn out of my own body, like everything had lost its meaning. I looked at my children, and I couldn't understand how someone could do that. But he did. He packed his things, and he left, without looking back, without hugging his children, without thinking about anything. And I stayed, alone, with two children, with no ground beneath my feet. The days that followed were the hardest of my life. I didn't know how to react. I needed to be strong in front of my children, but when they fell asleep, I broke down. I cried in silence, with fear, with pain, with a sense of abandonment I had never felt before. And the worst part was the fear of the future. How was I going to provide for my children? How was I going to keep going? I had no answers, but I had two reasons not to give up, and that was enough. At first, everything was very hard. There were days when money was missing, days when I had to choose between paying a bill or buying something for the house, days when I felt completely lost. But I didn't stop. I started doing small jobs. Whatever came up, I did. Cleaning, cooking to sell, helping neighbors, anything. It was exhausting. It was heavy, but it was honest, and every small amount of money I earned was a victory. My children grew up seeing this. They saw my struggle, my pain, but they also saw my strength, and that created a bond between us that no one will ever break. With time, things started to improve. I learned, I got organized, I created a routine. I started to have more control over my life. And without even realizing it, I was no longer that dependent woman. I was rebuilding myself. And that changed everything. Years passed. My children grew up. I managed to achieve my things. My house, my furniture, my stability. Nothing came easy, but everything came through effort, and that made it all more valuable. I no longer missed him. In fact, I felt relief. Until one day, I saw him again. It was unexpected. I was well-dressed, handling my business, living my life, when I noticed someone looking at me. It was him, but he was not the same man. He looked different, broken, empty.
And when he came closer, I felt something strange. It wasn't pain. It wasn't love. It was indifference. He started talking. He said the woman he left me for had also abandoned him, that when things got hard, she left, that he lost everything. Everything. He said he regretted it, that he missed me, that he missed the children, that he wanted to come back. In that moment, time seemed to stop, but I was no longer the same woman. I listened to everything, calmly, and I answered, "When you needed me, you weren't here." He tried to insist, but I ended it. Now it's too late. And I walked away, without looking back, because in that moment I understood something that changed my life forever. Not every abandonment is a loss. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. And that is exactly what happened to me. I lost a husband, but I gained strength. I gained independence. I gained a new life. And above all, I gained myself.